This one you like?
No.
Right.
You know the right.
Yeah.
You know the track. Hey, Steve. Yes.
They will, okay,
I think this is my second.
Yeah. There was a reason I can't remember.
Trying it these times. So this one, we didn't hear it from So, I mean, I'm doing it. Really hard to like, so it's not like one of those person. I don't know. I read this, yeah. We got two come down.
I got you. Report reports.
Because if you go less than years, and then send it out. Well, that's what I'm paying about. So that's why I couldn't really might even
So,
that's something that you don't usually all right, seems like you all hear me. Yeah, you're really higher, so you're not
Welcome to the October edition of the Pleasant Streets Committee Council meeting. This is a lovely packed house. We have a packed agenda for this evening, chock full of fun topics and speakers. For those of you who are new, please make sure you have signed in. The long line tells me that message was conveyed. Also, just by nature of this room, the furnace air blower next to Councilmember Jeffries is loud and in charge. It just calmed down, but it gets angry at the most inopportune time. So if you can't hear, which now I don't know how that's possible, you can move forward. I just love not having to yell at this thing. This is good. Okay, so with that, to be respectful of everyone's time, we will start with a pledge of allegiance. Please join us.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, I'm going to keep standing for this, but basically a couple of things for the evening. We do have guest speakers. We do have a presentation from the Department of Transportation. We are also trying our hand at live streaming, and I know that there is a history with this. We will not be monitoring this video feed, so if people are asking questions, that's something that we are trying to be very diligent about, making sure that any actual back and forth as far as questions and comments or concerns are happening during the formal meeting in person. But we wanted to make at least that avenue open to anyone that is not physically able to be here in the evening. Okay, so with that, we go through our regular city department reports. We do have Officer Martin representing police department. So Officer Martin, go ahead.
This is very abnormal for me, guys.
For you guys that don't know me, I'm Officer Martin, Cincinnati Police Department. I'm the neighborhood liaison officer for Pleasant Ridge. As far as the crime is concerned, it's actually looking very, very good. We've only had 3 auto thefts, and it was Kias and Hyundais again, but it's only 3, so that's great. And we had a burglary, but that was from America. They left their back door open, and someone went in and took some things, so that's considered a burglary. And then we also had some thefts. We had a theft from UDF and a theft from La Rosa's, and one person was caught, the other was not. And we had 1 robbery. And that was an unknown suspect, and the information was very, very vague, so we're still investigating that. But other than that, there is nothing else that I have to report unless you guys have any questions for me. Any questions or concerns? Yes, ma'am.
I live on Ridge right across from St. Peter's, and I know that 6 cars got broken into a couple weeks ago, the windows got busted out. Is there any way that we can get together? You can't find anybody in the church to talk to, no matter how far I've tried. We wanted to see if we can get together a group to clean up the parking lot, because to make the cars visible, so then maybe they won't be able to break into them so easily.
I also tried to contact someone at the church during that incident, and I cannot get a hold of anyone. But that's private property, so if you guys want to get together, let me know. I'll be more than willing to help and come and help. And also, I did get a lot of emails about the Pleasant Ridge Rehabilitation Center on, is it Burrell? Yes. I have a meeting with the executive director on Monday. They have a very high turnover rate for the managers. So I have a meeting with her Monday, so we'll discuss some things about the residents there, if you guys are worried about that. Is there anything else? Yes.
This is political season. A lot of people have a tendency to run their mouth on X and Twitter and threaten violence against people who are going to vote for a particular candidate. Is that a crime? Would the police department even do anything about that?
We will investigate it, but what you can do is you can actually call the district and speak with an investigator, and they may be able to give you more information on how that's handled. I don't really handle it because I've never experienced it or had to handle it, but I can find out some information and reach out to the president. All right, you guys have a good day. My card is on the desk if somebody has questions that they don't want to ask in front of a whole bunch of people. My number and email's on there as well. Okay, have a good night.
Thank you. Do we have any representatives from the fire department in the 8? Okay, all right. Yes, there we go. The Public Recreation Officer, Kendall, go ahead.
All right, how's everyone doing today? Good. Glad to hear that. So my name is Kendall Bobo. I'm one of the community center directors here. In the rear is our service area coordinator, Chris Armstrong. All right, first on the agenda, Keep Cincinnati Beautiful will be coming October 9th. So they'll help declutter, clean the grounds, landscaping, paint, and we'll get a mural too, so that'll be great. All right, next thing, so school's out, mini camp, that will be this Thursday from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. The fee is $25, and the kids get like a tailgating experience. So we'll do a little cookout for the kids, have games out in the parking lot, things like that. So we'll have fun with that. Paws and paint, that'll be next, this upcoming Friday. So you can bring your dog and paint with them out in Pleasant Ridge Park out here. So you get you can register. I have flyers over there with the QR code. Everything's $50. So that would be a whole lot of fun. If you have a dog, come out and paint with it. All right. Last but not least, we have our Grill Fest coming up October 11th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. You can decorate your car trunks, pass out candy, enjoy the music, we'll have games, and come dressed up in your costume. So please bring your kids out. It'll be a whole lot of fun. Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Kendall. Interviewing with the Pleasant Ridge library branch informed me that she's unable to attend tonight, but I was informed that the schedule of programs for October is very, very similar to what it was in September. All the events are live and updated on their website, and that there's nothing right now of note as far as outside the regular programming. Going into executive committee reports, I'm going to encourage us to keep ours brief. But basically, I'm gonna celebrate. We got our community budget requests in on time and in lavishly, almost late style that they're in. I mean, we submitted what we estimated $900,000 worth of projects. Again, for those who are unfamiliar or unaware, we are afforded 3 community budget requests for the city. So for this is for the 26-27 budget year, we requested 3 projects. One was for essentially a redesign and traffic calming along Woodford, which we know has been long concern for our neighborhood. Jeff led the Hans Park, I'll let you talk about that. And same thing with pedestrian blockage between Ridge Road and the park here. So anyway, all that was submitted on time. We got the receipt that was confirmed. So now we wait essentially until we hear back. Other things, just a couple of updates. There was a request for a subdivision dividing a parcel over on Indian Hill Road off Cypress, which is at both part of Pleasant Ridge. Most people tend to kind of forget about. But basically, we didn't have any objection to the parcel being subdivided. There was no grounds for us to actually have any objection. So that's just letting you know that that was put in front of us. We do have our communications team is up to speed. Is Ingrid coming here? Out of town. Okay. I'll update them during communications during that segment then. And I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it's been a lot of beautiful onboarding, essentially, that I've been trying to help with. But all good things, it's good. All right, here you go, Jeff.
Hey, everybody. My updates are going to be short and sweet. Business district trees are stable and beautiful, and they're going to live through the winter. So, ready for everybody who donated water. Thank you all for that. One thing that I wanted to mention that we discussed, and this is a seed planting kind of toss that out there thing. So we're looking to build a resources committee. Essentially, we have a team of people who work with us to look for grants, whether it be state, federal, etc., that we could use to help continue to improve things here in Pleasant Ridge. Another thing, we did get notice about some work on Montgomery. It's not pressing yet. I can give you further information. I know the bar posted some things on Facebook. And a whole website you can go to. They're going to be doing some traffic calming, so they're going to keep this even the same, but they're going to basically reduce the flow of traffic by adding more parking and a bike lane up Montgomery. So that would be more effective down near Ridgeland and whatnot, obviously coming up Montgomery there. I also want to encourage everybody, if you want to have a free one in Cincinnati and you're using it, I'm going to continue to be instrumental. Every time I put in a request, something gets done. So I highly encourage you. You see a parking sign that you can't read that says no parking, you can report that. You just put a picture in, you can see your own block, see green improvements just by using that app. And then I will come on the CRCS. Thank you, Lauren, the classroom as part of the Pleasant Streets Committee. She helped us finish the CDR request for the pedestrian safety initiative here in front of the CRC. And what we asked is for them to widen the sidewalk by 3 feet from driveway to driveway, and then to either planters or bollards between traffic and that extended sidewalk, so then parents can feel a lot more safe about having the kids walk around this area, we have a lot of applicants, we have applicant communities from all 3 different schools in our neighborhood come to this applicant program. And so we want kids to be safe, we want senior citizens to come to the center to be safe. On the other hand, we actually took a very big swing and we asked for a lot for this playground, including ADA access to the playground, the ball field, and tennis courts, ADA access water fountains both by the courts and playground. We asked for a shaded structure with a permanent bathroom being access. And we asked for, if not improvements, a brand new, more sustainable playground. So we went all out for that. And we will hear back very specifically. They said the earliest we would hear anything about these requests is May of next year, and the actual final answer will come in September of next year.
My name is Michelle, I'm the brand new secretary, so I do not know what's going on. But I do know that the first Tuesday next month is election day, so we have opted to move that meeting for obvious reasons to the following Tuesday. So make note of that it is on the second Tuesday.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessie Frank. I'm the treasurer for PRCC. I work with everything financial and compliance for the council. A couple of updates from us. If you've been here the past couple months, you've heard me say NSP a million times. It's the neighborhood support program. It's a public grant that the community councils are able to apply for each year. For this year, we received $7,400 in grant funding for a couple of approved projects for Ridge Day and beautification activities. We have spent all that money. I want to give a shout out to Ruth Ann. I saw her earlier. Thank you. She is our NSP manager. She assists us with all the documentation and filings we have to submit to the city for it. So she just submitted our Q3 documentation, and we'll be on our way to submitting the final documentation for this year over the next couple months. But of course, as this year ends, we're already looking into 2025 for NSP. We don't have a number yet on how much funding is available for the councils, but one thing that they did reach out to us for is that with the NSP ordinance, which allows us to get NSP funding, our bylaws have to fall in accordance with the ordinance for us to be able to be eligible. They reached out to us and wanted us to expand our non-discrimination policy to add in a housing element. So we'll talk about that a little bit more next month and do some voting to make sure everybody approves the amendment to our bylaws, but that'll be coming up next month here on the 12th, like Michelle said. And then last thing, our last fundraiser of the year for PRCC is Luminaria. Oh, hello. What's up? Oh, there we go. Okay. It's Luminaria. Oh my goodness. So okay. We'll go on high. Our last fundraising event of the year is Luminaria. That date has been set for Saturday, December 14th. Mark that down. It is the same day as PRDA's Shop Hop event as well. So more information is going to be coming on that. Jeff and Katie Cerrone, if you've heard that name, they are leading this event again this year. They'll be here at the next meeting as well to give some more information, but the order form and all the details will be coming out real soon, so keep your eyes out for that.
Okay, so there's a lot going on. It's great. Let's just keep going on our agenda. We have 2 candidates for judge positions in the county, and so I'm going to try to keep them to at least an 8-minute limit. Steve Simon is our first candidate, and so I will let him introduce himself. Yes, if you please. And, all right, I will start the timer, but go on.
Yeah, you don't need to start the timer. No problem. Steve Simon, pleasure to be here. I am running for Hamlin County Court of Common Pleas. That's the trial court level at the courthouse. They have a criminal docket here, felons, as well as the civil docket here, all kinds of lawsuits. I've been a labor employment lawyer for over 25 years in Cincinnati, representing working people, labor unions, and individual employees who have experienced some injustice in the workplace. And I'm looking to do good things in the courthouse. A lot of you know me as former president of the Pleasant Ridge Community Council. Well, yeah, give yourself a hand, because when you run for office around the county or the city, you find out how special Pleasant Ridge is, because there are not community councils with this kind of attendance around the city, not since the pandemic. This is an amazing community. My wife Maureen and I moved in here in 2000. started our family. And when our oldest was 2 and the other was in utero, we're like, where are we going to send them to school? We're going to send them to Pleasant Ridge Elementary School. We lived on Beaver, just going to walk up the street. And we discovered that that school had been segregated by race and income for years. The middle class had essentially abandoned that school. We have a very strong parochial presence in Pleasant Ridge, which is very important. But for folks who have wanted some other option, they often just leave the neighborhood when their kids were school age and go up to outside the city, outside the county, and it was not good for Pleasant Ridge. So we were very lucky. I got to toot my own horn here. My wife and I, the neighbors, said, why don't you make it a neighborhood Montessori school? Because Magnet is so popular, Magnet Montessori. Let's make it neighborhood. They were building the new school that you see there. It was still a 100-year-old building when we moved in. Anyhow, long story short, I became the face of making a Pleasant Ridge neighborhood Montessori, recruited all these middle-class families, and you guys know, because you live in Pleasant Ridge, doesn't matter 20 years ago today, there's incredible energy in this neighborhood, and people are like, yeah, that's a great idea, let's do it. And the day that you had to sign up, if you wanted to have your kid go to this school, the day to sign up, there was a line outside the door going outside the street. People were like, I don't want to miss it. So you had a totally segregated school in a diverse neighborhood, and what you have today, you've got a school that's as diverse as the neighborhood that surrounds it. And give Pleasant Ridge a round of applause for that. It wasn't just me, it was dozens of parents and community leaders who kept fighting the good fight until now you have a school that's of course overflowing, and they had to build the new addition to it, and I know it's very popular. I'm very proud of that. But I'm very proud of my time at Community Council. We also had the later stages of the Hilton Davis fight when I was on Community Council. We wanted the Ohio EPA to make sure they did a complete cleanup. We all met here one day in 2010. As packed as it is here, I think we had 2 or 3 times the amount to tell them we're going to have a complete cleanup, and you know what, we got the best cleanup we can. That was like a multi-decade affair. So many wonderful things happen in this neighborhood, and here I am years later running for public service, and I want to bring that spirit to the courthouse. We need more transparency. We need just more fairness. I know that as a lawyer who's been in that courthouse. So I also know the importance of safety. I know that every community council meeting starts with, here's the neighborhood officer. It was Officer Engleman years ago who retired, or the family and these others. And that's what's on people's minds. Is it safe? What's the number of robberies? Let's make sure it's safe, because that's how a neighborhood thrives. So that's job number 1, but we can also make Cincinnati more just. That's what I hope to do. You're going to hear from one of my colleagues who's also running. I do have a Democratic Party endorsement. We've got our literature that Virginia is going to demonstrate. There it is on the ballot itself. It is nonpartisan, so if you like what you hear, take one. But on the ballot, it won't say D or R. And early voting starts on October 8th. Thanks very much.
In record time, that was amazing. Thank you. All right, next up is Virginia Talent. Virginia, go ahead.
I promise also not to take 8 minutes. It's really wonderful to be with you all. My name is Virginia Talent, and like Steve, I'm running for the Court of Common Pleas General Division in a different race, and it's really been a privilege to run, with Steve and to spend a lot of time having these sorts of community conversations. I'm a career-long public interest lawyer. I spent the first part of my career, about a decade, at the Legal Aid Society of Greater Cincinnati, where I spent most of my days fighting eviction, fighting slumlords, actually working with a lot of tenant organizations, including in Kennedy Heights and Pleasant Ridge, to fight for better and more fair conditions. I also represented low-income children in school cases, so both school expulsion, school discipline, also trying to help families and children obtain special education services throughout Southwest Ohio. And that's really how I got to know and fell in love with CPS and with so many of our public districts. Fast forward a few years, I joined the city's law department, where I was so proud, and still proud, to have represented the city of Cincinnati as a trial lawyer and in affirmative litigation, oftentimes working hand in hand with community council. One of my last trials for the city of Cincinnati was with Northside, closed down a problem bar where there had been shootings and drug trafficking. Then I was promoted to be the city's director of human services. So the last 3 years, I've spent a lot of time working on public administration and policy, and now I'm the city's one of the city's deputy city administrators. So actually, I was excited to see that DOTE is on the agenda. It's one of the departments that I manage. My beat in the manager's office is really health, human services, and public safety. And that also includes our Department of Transportation and Engineering and also our Office of Environment and Sustainability. So I'm really interested in solving problems for the community. So why would I want to be a judge? Well, it's because I'm a problem solver. And, you know, the truth of the matter is a lot of what being a judge is being an administrator. You run a docket, you run a courtroom, and I'm really the only public administrator on your ballot that also happens to have trial experience. And so that's really the commitment that I'll bring to you. It's to bring fairness, efficiency, and also really my experience solving problems in a way that delivers public safety for the citizens of Cincinnati and Hamilton County. So a little bit more about what I mean when I say fairness. That's not an accident. It means bringing things that are cost neutral, like implicit bias training for juries. Also judges, every judge in Hamilton County needs to go through implicit bias training. It also means efficiency. Something that I have in common with Steve is that we're both really hard workers, and there's a real culture at the courthouse of, frankly, laziness, of judges working 2 hours a day, of no one working on Fridays, and that's unacceptable. Can you imagine if everybody in the city of Cincinnati only worked 2 hours a day? 311 calls would not be getting answered. So that's my commitment. And being efficient also leads to fairness. If you're prepared, if you've read briefs, if you understand the arguments of the parties, that's going to result in really economies of scale for trial litigants. You know, being able to avoid trial, really saving monies for businesses who might be able to settle their disputes because a judge exercises good case management. Last thing I'll say about public safety. I'm endorsed by the FOP. I'm also endorsed by the Teachers Union and Planned Parenthood. I'm someone that can get along with everybody. I'm also really a candidate that understands the depth and breadth of human services organizations in our community, and I want to bring that to the courthouse. There are too many people who are falling through the cracks, too many people who are addicted, who might be victims of domestic violence that we are not catching and offering supportive services to, and we need to do that at the courthouse. And my commitment is to do that in my courtroom. So I've said a lot. I'm asking for your vote. Like Steve said, it's really a nonpartisan race, although I am an endorsed Democrat, and I'm proud of that. So if those values matter to you, please tell your friends. But truly, I'm going to be a judge for everyone, just like I'm a deputy city manager for everyone, just like I was a legal aid lawyer for everyone. And I really appreciate your time.
Excellent. It's just warming when we have candidates, local candidates that want to show up and share their visions with us, but just are really well established and vetted. So thank you for your vote for coming tonight. Next on the agenda is Councilmember Mark Jeffries, and we love to hear all the warm updates happening down the city.
Yes, so I am not on the ballot, so I like to come to community councils 2 to 3 times a month, which basically gets me through all of them once a year. I'm down, so, and I think my staff would like me to work 2 to 3 hours a week, because every day, because I send emails to board and please, she does that. I don't, but anyway, I love the work. So I just want to do a couple of updates, and happy to take any questions or anything. I don't know if we're on an 8-minute clock here or not. So my focus is on what I always call safer, cleaner, greener. Just a lot of quality of life issues. On safety, a couple of updates. You'll hear Department of Transportation. I don't know what they're going to talk about. I know what they're going to talk about, but I don't know the content. Pedestrian safety is a big passion area for mine, because I think it is a big area that folks want leadership on, not only with engineering, but also having to make sure CPD does more enforcement, which they are doing more enforcement, have to talk that, thoughtful enforcement, and bringing back driver's ed and CPS schools, which is something we've been partnering. It's been 15 years gone. I think a lot of people just forgot how to drive during the pandemic, seriously. But the other couple updates on police also, we just finished both police and fire union negotiation with both, you might have read about it. In both cases, we continue to fund both. Fire is at the full complement now, so we are fully staffed on fire. We've gone through a couple of recruit classes, continue to do, which is great. Police is not because we haven't funded recruit classes. We funded recruit classes, and we can't hire enough people because it's a competitive labor market, and frankly, a lot of people don't want to be a police officer in the city, or in general. I mean, it's obviously a challenging profession. So we continue to fund new classes. Separate of that, as I mentioned on the labor negotiation, we just finished a negotiation with police, and frankly, it was the largest raise in 40 years. Mostly in part because we need it, because we want to retain we're losing a lot of officers both to neighboring cities. So think about like Blue Ash or Coleraine. Folks can be like, all right, why do I have to deal with the city, all these issues in the city? I'll just make as much money or more in neighboring counties. So we've addressed that with this and hope to retain more officers with that. So we're not at full complement, because I hear from community councils that people want officers back on the beat and back in their neighborhoods, which we do. And we're doing everything that we can, but make sure we're paying them right well, recruiting new officers, which is important. So those are a couple things on Safer. A few updates that I mentioned to Jake on the cleaner. I'm glad that KCD is coming out here. We recently funded an initiative, which people who are older will remember, like Adopt the Spot on highways and everything, where you see the Boy Scouts have adopted the spot. We're bringing it back in the city, and so there's private learner, and then the city put forward some money to relaunch that. So what does that mean for you guys? I know you have a beautification committee, but it literally means individuals or group of people could adopt a spot. Somebody wants to take this section of ridge or something like that. KCB gives all of the materials, so you don't have to do anything, and then you just basically clean it up at least once a month, and you have to post it to a website and stuff. And then eventually they'll put up a sign, this is adopted by this individual or this group. So it could also be, we're trying to get Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts involved, or churches. So think about that. It's a great way to, part of it is also culture change that we want, right? Yeah. That all of this is not just the government's job to clean up. It's like all of our job, and if more residents see people actually cleaning up, then maybe they might think twice about tossing stuff out, which is a huge culture change that's needed. The last one on kind of the green, I already talked more about this. We're putting a lot of emphasis around, as you probably saw, with this property tax task force, property tax increases and increases in energy. We are forming or investing in something that's called Green Bank. As you probably know, from a federal standpoint, there is a lot of dollars coming down from the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the largest investment in climate infrastructure. A lot of that is in energy efficiencies. So the state of Ohio, in the next 3 to 6 months, will deploy $400 million in energy efficiencies for homeowners. What does that mean? You have to have an energy audit done. They will announce that they will be paying for that. They've shared with us, but that's an opportunity. So what does that mean? It comes in your house and measures how you can be more efficient, weatherizing your house, could you be eligible for solar, etc. So the subsidies at the federal level depends on the level of income, but even for people who are above 150%, it's like a 25% subsidy. So obviously it gets more if you're going down, but electrifying appliances, weatherizing your home, etc. So more to come on that, but on average, the estimate is most homeowners will save about $1,000 a month for a year in energy costs, which is obviously great. It's great for our green Cincinnati plan, making our air cleaner, etc. So more to come on that. So exciting stuff. But happy to answer anything depending on time. I know DOTE. I don't know who's giving the DOTE presentation, but I will be hanging around that as well.
So can we ask questions?
Sure.
I have been doing a lot of homework on connected communities. And I've actually read the report by all these different communities that have responded. There are serious concerns. We have serious concerns here. Some of us are watching the big housing thing that got put up down there in Montgomery, Leicester. It doesn't blend in. Green space is being destroyed. Are you all going back and taking a more serious look at where this is going and how people feel about it? We live here because we love our green space. We don't want to look like the city of Cincinnati, down the city. So how are you going to juggle this that we don't lose? I know Cincinnati's landlocked. There's no question. Higher density will not make living cheaper.
New York is one of the highest density cities in the United States, and higher density is more cost. So what is happening with this connected communities? There's a lot of concern.
Yeah, so a couple things on that. First, we will be measuring impact I believe it's every quarter. And it'll be a public dashboard that anyone will be able to see what is the impact. That can also be brought down to the neighborhood level, so folks can see what the impact is. I do also separately know, to answer your first question, the Vice Mayor is initiating some work to look at some parts of connected communities. I don't know what that entails. But I would say, the last thing is, as we're measuring what the impact is, and I think feedback is important, and understand, obviously, we have a housing crisis right now in the city. We have 4,000 CPS kids who are currently homeless. It used to be 2,000. They're not homeless because we have plentiful housing. We don't. We absolutely need more housing. So because we actually declined the number of units in the past couple of years, net, but we added population. So we're adding population faster than we are housing. As a result, prices go up. I mean, everybody knows it, right? You see prices are rising. It's pure supply and demand. So we definitely need more. We have to do it, thoughtfully, obviously. We put forward a motion to look at vacant property that the city has. And that's the first place that I think we should start, is looking at all the vacant lands. We looked along 24-hour corridors, and we do a request for proposal. So the city came back with a couple of options on that. That's the most logical. And then there are other parts of the city, for example, we have an initiative on the Mill Creek Valley. 36% of the land in Mill Creek is vacant. So there are a lot of places that we can have housing, and downtown is one of them. I think we can have probably 20,000 units downtown easily because you can build up. So there are a lot of ways, but we do have a housing crisis. We need to build it. We can do it thoughtfully, and we will be measuring the impact.
We have time for one more question for council member.
What can you tell us about, as an insider, about when the roads are going to be fixed? I'm a 311 ambassador, and I'm up to over 1,600 potholes. The potholes aren't getting fixed. I came here to see what the DOT had to say. When I went through the training, the city manager said the roads aren't going to be fixed because it's $1 million every lane mile. The city's got 3,300 lane miles. It's not going to happen. But the railroad's been sold now, and I know, that was $440 million.
Great question. So to reinforce one of your points, it used to cost $500,000 to do a mile, now it's $1 million, so costs have gone up. The city, as you might have seen, with the sale of the railroad board came back and dispensed an additional $25 million to the city. So before, we were getting more or less $25 million. And then we're getting 25 million more, which was the whole intent of it, right? The whole intent was that this goes back into current infrastructure. What does that mean? That means roads, bridges that have currently been built, not new ones, and rec centers, parks, etc. We have 400 million for remains. So 25 million, and that wasn't even the full. I think they got 54 million is what the fund delivered, and they're only giving us 25, right? So that's intentional because we're going to have a down year in the market. Like that's the whole point. This is like an endowment, like a college endowment that you spit off the interest. So we have double what we had before. We had 25 million, and we have 50 million. So 25 million. Well, now the manager will go back and recommend the top priorities, and it's really kind of whack-a-mole. It's like, what are the biggest things that are needed? If you have a roof collapsing in a rec center or something, that probably is needed more than something else. So the short answer is I think that's incremental progress. It's like another 25 million, awesome. And then we can get another 25 million the following year. That's how we gradually chip away at it.
Don't forget our fire department. They need a new station.
Fire station.
I'm not impressed with their picnic table as a dinner table. You saw the picnic table as your dinner table?
I've been out there, for sure.
All right, thank you.
Very
Before we have Department of Transportation reporting, we do have Engineer having come tonight. Gentlemen, if you have updates, please go ahead and share anything. I know this coming week is according to our minutes, the fire prevention week, so if there's anything noteworthy with that.
What is that? Do we fire?
Don't have fires.
Don't have fire. My name is Bob Case, I'm a fire lieutenant at Engineer. I've been there for a long time, after 2010. Fire prevention week is coming up. There'll be more information sent out to community partners. As you know, the last couple of weeks, we've had a lot of elevated storm activity, thanks to weather down south, and there's a lot of property damage. As far as I know, no one was actually injured during the recent storms. Just an observation, we're not always able to stand by and babysit a wire when it's on the ground. Sometimes we don't even find out for hours. So if you see a wire on the ground, even if you know something about electrical work, don't assume that it's not charged or that it carries the same voltage that it normally would carry. Because once a wire's been compromised, even if it's a cable TV wire, you know that's cable TV. Still has copper in it. And they'll now be laid across another wire, compromised some other way. And you could be seriously injured or injuring someone else. So just call us so we can take a look at that wire. If you're okay? Oh, you're okay. Just don't assume that a wire is okay. We do our best to get out and at least mark them with tape and move on to the next one. We get calls about car seats almost every day. Can you install a car seat? And we'll give you a phone number to call about installing a car seat. I never had anybody help me install my 6 kids' car seats. We just put our knees down and cinch them up and pray for the best. But we won't install them, but we will check them for you. So I'm going to leave on the table a sheet that has a QR code. If you need that assistance, you can scan the QR code and fill out a form and get someone to get in touch with you about how to check your car seat and make sure it's safely installed. Another thing is we get calls about smoke detectors. We used to receive grants and get cardboard boxes of cheap smoke detectors, which we passed out. They weren't very good quality. We don't receive those anymore. We receive some nicer ones, but they're in a smaller quantity. So if you need a free smoke detector and you live inside, say, Cincinnati, and you're not buying it for your business or an apartment building you own, again, I'll have a QR code back there you can scan, and we'll actually come out and install it for you. Make sure it's properly installed. Any questions? Any questions? Yes, sir.
Have you heard anything about any training for civilians? Years ago, the Cincinnati Fire Department used to sponsor CPR training, and they had Citizens Fire Academy and things of that nature.
I don't know the answer to that question. If you write down your name, number, email address, I'll find someone who can answer it for you. But I personally haven't heard that. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it's not a good suggestion. Should you write it down for me? Anyone else?
All right, thank you so much for your time. Okay, Department of Transportation, please. Let's see the next slide. Can everyone hear me okay in the back? Yes. Okay. All right. Oh, not working. No, it is. Is it the right one? But
So yeah, I'm just gonna go. Alright, you have trouble either hearing with the microphone, but if you want to need to move up for the presentation, by all means, please do so. If you need to, go ahead. But right now,
All right, that's all. That's fine. If you need to closer in order to see the presentation, this is about as wide as we're going to be able to get it. Feel free to do so. You can bring your chair, come up on the side. Other than that, for the sake of time, I'm going to turn over to Brad Johnson. He's here with us with the Department of Transportation. And you have the floor. Say that very much. Thank you.
Well, we're going to talk about the Ridge Avenue rehab project tonight. Again, my name is Brad Johnson with the City of Cincinnati Department of Transportation and Engineering. And in the back is my coworker, Elise, who's a new hire helping with community engagement and some communication stuff. Quick overview of the map of the project. Here is a map of the project. It starts in the Oakland neighborhood on Marburg at Paxton Avenue, goes up and then continues on Ridge up into the Port line with Columbia Township, and then jumps over Columbia Township, starts there in Pleasant Ridge, just south of the railroad track, and continues all the way up to the Port line with Ambulance Village. Scope of the project. It's a rehab project, so pavement rehab will grind off the pavement, replace all of that, all new signage and pavement markings along the entire length. We will also reconstruct the railroad crossing, and we've gotten several complaints since I think 2019 now.
It's great every time.
Yes. So, quick history, the railroad came through and fixed it according to their standards, without our knowledge. So we quickly came through, added some additional signage, and you can see the rough crossing, and did some temporary patchwork with this project. This area will be completely restructured. It will not be smooth or flat by any means. It's still a railroad crossing that needs to be flat on a vertical grade, but it will be more designed similar to race crosswalks. Is kind of what we're saying, or about 25 mile per hour design speed. And then we will also construct some missing sidewalk. This area is actually in Columbia Township, but the city owns a parcel in front of the enterprise frontage. So on the east side, just off the railroad track, there's a few hundred feet of sidewalk that is missing, so we will fill in that gap with the project. So quick status update, I'll call it, of the funding. So like Councilman Jeffries said, inflation is killing our department. So in 2021, we applied for an OPWC application, and we were awarded $1.4 million. At the time, that was half the project costs for this project. So about a $2.8 to $3 million project. We are now at a $5.9 million project with the exact same scope. So earlier this year, we went after SORTA MTIP money, which is part of the SORTA bus levy that was passed a few years ago with the additional sales tax. We received an additional $1.5 million from that grant. So we have an additional $3 million that is coming from our DOTE rehab program. So I'm going to go over kind of the detailed improvements that we incorporated in the project. I first want to say thank you to anyone in the community that was involved in making the exhibits that were shared with us earlier this month. They were very helpful to get a better understanding of the community's desires for Ridge Avenue. We tried to incorporate some of the improvements in this project, but as you can see, we are also in a funding gap that we are still trying to fit also, so it's trying to find that balance. So we're going to kind of split this into three sections in the public works community. So Acon to the community center where we are now, and then Woodford to Montgomery, and then north of Montgomery. So we're going to highlight those three sections. So many years ago, DOT began working with the community about this section, complaining of the limited usage of the parking. People were driving way too fast, and so a 3-lane section had been discussed with the community at that time. It was the preferred option, which is 1-lane each direction and a center turn lane. We used that information to help secure the grants that were mentioned previously. This is a major safety improvement that scored us extra points. So on the slide, you can see a quick summary of the crashes. Over the last 5 years, there's been 89 crashes in this area, 1 serious injury, 7 minor injuries, and then the crash types. So over 75% of the crashes were either rear end, so somebody is you in the end, behind you. Usually somebody following too close, speeding, not paying attention as you're slowing down to turn left or right, and they rear end you, or side swipe passing. So that is 2 people driving in the same direction, hitting each other, which typically means somebody is driving next to you in the parking lane that they're not supposed to be driving in. So we proposed doing the 3-lane section in those grant applications, and that gave us extra safety points, which helps get us kind of above the cut line. So that is what we are still planning on installing in this section of bridge for the safety measures. Historically, there's been several studies of what adding a center turn lane does, and it should reduce about 30% of all crashes in this corridor and 50% of the rear end crashes with this improvement. It will also help calm traffic by making the northbound lane not feel like a 24 wide lane. And then our project will also install islands where feasible in the center turn lane, where the turn lane isn't needed for driveways and intersections. We're still working on that kind of final layout, final design. The next area is the Woodford Road intersection and then the Montgomery Road intersection. These areas are still under study. We are working now to collect traffic data. We'll have crews go out and count cars during peak hours, and then we'll take that data back and model these intersections. The community has asked for some signal timing changes, some lane use changes, and then potentially bump outs. So once we have all of the data, we can kind of put it into a program that lets us model the traffic and see how it's going with those changes. And then at that point, we'll be able to determine what changes we can implement. For those that don't know, there were some requests for longer turn lanes, some bump outs at Woodford, scrambles, potentially LPIs, all those kind of LPI at the pedestrian interval. I think there's one at Lester. Yes, thank you. Lester, I'm sorry. LPI is basically you push the button, you would get a walk light for like 3 or 5 seconds before any cars can go. So it helps you get on the intersection and become more visible. And then the last section is the Montgomery Road to the Northern Portland. Again, a quick summary of the crashes. Significantly less crashes in this section compared to the other. There's also a significant drop in traffic volume. So we go from about 20,000 vehicles down to 10. And then again, highlighting the crash types there in this area, there is not nearly as much of a trend in this section. One of the things that the community brought up was the sidewalk pictured here with a utility pole in the middle of the sidewalk. Duke is not a very good place to go sometimes. So this will be addressed with the project. We have plenty of right of way. The pole will stay where it is. We'll just have a wider tree line, move the sidewalk farther back, and either regrade or do some minor curb work, kind of like what's shown there along that frontage. So we'll make sure that there's ADA compliant sidewalk. And then we are going to go over several options of what the paved markings would look like in this section. Again, sorry, the projector is a little small. I do have a few sets of handouts if people want them, but I'm hoping most people can see everything. I can provide a PDF, yes. So option 1 is the same option as what is going on downhill. A 3-lane section, center turn lane, no parking. Again, the same safety benefits of turning into intersections or turning into side streets, turning into driveways will be a dedicated turn lane.
Again, a refuge area for pedestrians if they're trying to cross the street, they can stop in the middle potentially. Option 2 is similar to what is out there now. Parking on one side, we would mark it with an edge line to kind of help designate the parking lane. Parking could be on either side of the streets. Option 3 is a buffered one-way bike lane. This would provide a safe dedicated area for the bike. It would also give them a little extra space in our traditional bike lane. You can see a 6-foot wide bike lane, 2-foot wide buffer, and that again could go on either side of the streets. Option 4 is one-way bike lanes on each side, again giving a designated lane to bikers. Maybe, yes. But it is only 5 feet wide due to the 30 feet of limited space that we have on Ridge Avenue. And so there'd be no buffer, but it would provide biking in each direction. Option 5 is what is called a chicane. It's a parking where you would flip it from side to side. So you would have parking on one side and then you do a switch to the other side. This would reduce the amount of parking that would act like the amount of parking spaces that would be available compared to option 2 where it's just full-time parking on one side, but it would create kind of a traffic calming effect with the lateral shift, horizontal shift as you're driving. I will say that we have proposed this on much lower volume roads, so this is something that we would draw up and study a little more closely if this is what the community is interested in pursuing.
Do you have an example?
No, it's on my head, but we can run some like very small, yes.
If there's questions being asked, we can't hear. Can you just kindly repeat questions?
Sorry, she asked what street it has been implemented on, and I cannot think about something. Usually it's very small residential streets that don't even have a center line, and we're just kind of flipping parking with signage. And this is the last option that I'm going to present. So this is kind of a combination of option 1 with the turn lane and the chicane effect. So we would have a turn lane at intersections, and then we would kind of do a taper again where you would have a painted out buffer area along the curb. So you would have the chicane effect of traffic calming, you would get the safety benefits of the turn lane at the intersections, and cars would also kind of be pulled away from the curb mid-block to give them a little extra space from the pedestrians. As far as I know, this has never been done in the city, and it's another option that if this is what the community is interested in pursuing, we would have to go back and draw this up and look at it a little bit closer before we can kind of sign off on implementation. So kind of next steps, what we're looking for is what is the preferred option from the community for Ridge Avenue, north of Montgomery up to the Port Line, based off those 6 options that we showed. Again, we'll share that, and I have a few handouts if people are interested tonight. Crosswalks, there were several crosswalks that were asked for the community due to the budget and all the extra improvements that we want to implement with the crosswalks. We're not just going to be a crosswalk on Ridge because we know that's not safe. We're asking the community to prioritize their locations, ideally 2, maybe 3 that our department would study and evaluate. And then we would look to implement the project. In that, we're asking you to kind of highlight why this is a priority location, why this makes sense for a crosswalk, or why the crosswalk's needed. Think about bus stops, pedestrian generators that are in the community that kind of necessitate the safer crossing at those locations. One of the other requests that came up, and I know it's discussed also with the CBRs, is the planters. The community can install planters in the right of way through the RSP process or on private property without DOT really being involved.
What's the RSP process?
RSP is Revocable Street Privilege, so it's a application that people go in to install basically anything in the right of way. So that would just include kind of a spec sheet of exactly what planters are going to be installed, and then a dimension plan. Basically, we're making sure that it has the proper distance offset from the pavement, and then it also maintains pedestrian walkway areas.
Where do you find that?
It's on our website. If you go to the cincinnati.gov, and I think you can search for the whole street privilege, or it's on the DOTE page in the resource center. I think this community has filled those out before for some more stuff activity on, but if not, we can help. Okay.
We're moving forward, don't you worry.
So that is everything that I have to present. I am more than willing to answer any questions we have.
What does it take to get a school zone put in by the TCP? I've seen, well, I saw them running across the street today. I saw a little girl that was getting killed every day. One of those students was getting killed because the speed limit is 25. Nobody goes 25. It needs to be a school zone. Why isn't it not a school zone?
The question about why we not have a school zone for TCP Board Academy already, and how we make that happen.
The charter school.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
It's good, no further with everybody, okay. I do not have, that's not my section, I will have to ask our traffic section, they're the ones that, do the school zones.
Because it's dangerous. These kids that just run out, they need a crosswalk there too.
Is your response? Someone who's in trouble. You're the only thing that's up right now, so go for it.
Sorry, tell me your motion. I have 3 questions. Do you want me to do one at a time or just all three? They're pretty short.
I'll be repeating your questions so that everybody else can hear them, just so you know.
Let's do one at a time.
Okay, perfect. The sidewalks on Ridge are pretty close to the road itself. Like sometimes there's maybe a foot, it feels like a foot and a half. It might be shorter than that. Some of the plans push the cars closer to the curb, which is the sidewalk. And with a fair amount of commercial trucks, I get kind of worried about deer hitting me or hitting the stroller that I'm pushing. If you guys thought through how to maybe move the sidewalks a little further away from the road, or in some of the plans, prioritizing plans that pull the cars away from the curb.
The question is about creating space between the traffic and the current sidewalks, because now it feels too close.
It was thought about, unfortunately, just from a funding perspective, that would be a significant extra cost on this project, to rebuild all the sidewalks along Ridge.
So then the options to help with that are pulling cars towards the center, right? Option 6? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Ridge and Montgomery, there's only 2 opportunities to turn left at that whole intersection. As you guys are assessing the traffic there, is that in consideration?
At this time, oh, sorry.
The question is about having opportunities to turn at the triangle.
So I don't know if you were around when we did the Montgomery Road project, 2017 maybe, where we did the re-paving and restriping of Montgomery Road. One of our engineers spent weeks and weeks and weeks modeling that intersection, turning all different things, trying to get the left turns. At this time, it was not going to be incorporated with this project. The Montgomery movement, the curb lines don't line up, so you can't actually have a full left turn lane going outbound, eastbound. And then single timing wise, we couldn't get the northbound left to work with anything with how heavy the throughway in the right is. And then there's the option for turning left at Wilford going northbound that is so close.
Last question, I promise. At some of those crosswalks in neighborhoods like Montgomery, that's well. In neighborhoods like Montgomery and I think in OTR, there might be there's flashers when you're crossing, so it alerts that individuals are crossing the street. Sometimes they're embedded in the street, other times it's just on top. Is that a consideration, or what would be the needs to have that added to your plan for Ridge?
The question is if we can consider, sorry, I know you can hear me, but we want to make sure that it's on the recording of the meeting that we're doing right here, about adding flashers for pedestrian crosswalks, whether that's in consideration.
Yes, those are called RFBs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons. Those are part of the safety improvements that we will evaluate once we know the priority locations. Hopefully for the 2 or 3 crosswalks that your community chooses, those will be on one of the options that is evaluated with the funding that we have for those additional safety improvements to make sure those crosswalks are safe and get on.
Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of hands. I'm gonna go with you. Do you want to talk to the lake yourself, or do you want me to repeat?
I'll just
Okay.
Did you mention something about the speed limit? Did I miss that? Are we reducing the speed limit for the stretch of bridge?
The question was if we were gonna reduce the speed limit on Ridge.
That is something that we look at with all our projects. The speed limits are set by the state of Ohio. So there's a process that we have to go through to petition the reduction of any speed limits. So we have a complete street checklist, I'll call it, that every project kind of gets reviewed through with our department now, and that is one of them that is done towards the end of the project. So it will be evaluated, yes.
And then the 6 options, just to clarify, that you showed for north of Montgomery, is it just for that stretch of bridge, or are any of those options an option for the other first bridge?
It is just north of Montgomery due to the safety funding or the safety component that was used in the application. So both the $1.5 million that was from OPWC would not have been funded without those safety improvements of the center turn lane. And we don't know the NTIF we just know it got the 1.5 million, and it again was part of the safety argument. So we need the 2-way left turn lane or the center turn lane on that stretch to meet the requirements of the grant that we submitted.
I know, I guess at the time of the original proposal that had the 2-way turn lane down the center, that was in 2017 before the city passed the Complete Streets Ordinance. So I'm glad to hear that your department now uses that checklist at the end of the projects that you complete. It seems like all the safety data you've cited, though, is very specific just for cars. And in the work that we've been doing with the group for Pleasant Streets and in the plans that we put together, I guess I'm a little disappointed to hear that there is no data that's available for pedestrian safety or how the proposal south of Montgomery will affect pedestrian safety. That is what the main focus I know Group's proposal was for, and with the 2-way turn lane, as someone earlier mentioned, it just moves heavy vehicular traffic closer to those sidewalks, which have a foot, 18 inches of buffer. I know it's not feasible at this point to move the sidewalks themselves. Is there any wiggle room, given that it's tied to earlier funding, to tweak that 2-way turn lane option?
Not with the funding, because that's not city money, it's state and county money. I will say that once we receive the 2 to 3 priority locations from the community for the crosswalk locations, whether those are in that section or the northern section, my guess is maybe both, then we will have a better chance to look at those specific locations and decide what pedestrian safety improvements can be incorporated. Because we can still do pedestrian safety improvements with the center turn lane. We can do essentially islands at the crosswalk. We can do the RFBs. We can do some other stuff that we'll look at and evaluate. We just didn't study every intersection. We still have that time. So we're going to wait to hear from the community, getting those priority locations, and then do a deeper dive and closer look into what pedestrian improvements we can do at those specific locations.
I just wanted to build on this comment. One of the issues we have is the fact that pedestrians aren't safe on Ridge Road. And I don't know if there's any possibility to get the terms of the grants that those were given to us to change. But we really felt the design we came up with, which gave more pavement back to be able to build more buffer space and create more room on sidewalks, would really substantially improve things for pedestrians. We have a situation now where people won't let their children walk on Ridge Road because they feel unsafe, and rightly so. So is there any possibility, not just wiggle room, but can we go back to them and ask them if they can change the terms of that to be able to better suit the community's need for safer streets?
I don't know. I know the one grant, we would have been below the cut line if we didn't have the safety argument, so it wouldn't have gotten funded.
It's a different safety argument. I mean, it's a safety concern for us, but for kind of a different perspective.
We can't really hear that.
Yeah, we can hear it.
I'm trying to quickly summarize.
Sorry.
So our Pleasant Streets Committee has already shared with the Department of Transportation and Engineering suggestions for what kind of things we would like to see on Ridge Road, unless we have to do with pedestrian safety. And that's what the question that Mark's posing and that Maureen is backing up is, can we push this back to them as a different safety measure to still keep that grant and be able to do something different instead of turn lane from the railroad to CRC?
To be honest, I don't know. We've never gone back to the grant. I know OPWC is a few rounds ago now, or a few years ago, a few rounds ago. So my guess is no. We would probably have to just give the money back and forfeit that grant. Like I said, we are going to look at trying to do other pedestrian safety improvements. Once we kind of have those specific locations and we can do a deeper dive of what exactly we can do. But the two-way turn lane was the key component to getting the safety points that we received that got us above the cut line. Both of these are extremely competitive grants. And so without that argument, we would not have, well, for the one I know, we would not have been funded.
Yeah, question.
Just to piggyback on all of this, can you maybe tell us a little more about, it's not just a concern about pedestrian safety, it's the traffic calming that's the concern, especially from like Woodford going down to the railroad tracks. They're going down a hill, like the speed limit changes, they're flying down a hill. If we don't look at things like the speed limit, traffic calming measures, not just flashing crosswalks, but something to actually calm the traffic coming down the hill in front of here. That's where the pedestrian safety comes in. That's where a lot of our concerns are. Did you already mention the traffic calming piece of that? Or can you highlight that a little bit better for us, just on that stretch?
The question is, if she's asking if you can elaborate on some traffic calming in this first stretch of roads that you discussed, and maybe in order to make pedestrian safety still a priority.
So some of the increased pavement marking and the signage will help, especially in the curve, just kind of alerting drivers. There will also be the islands that will make it just feel a little bit narrower with that improvement. The grade is difficult. People, I mean, it's physics. People build up speed as they're going downhill with gravity. We're hoping that this will just feel narrower. Cars that are going northbound have like a 20-foot lane that they're driving in. They won't have that anymore. I think that will help. We're trying.
You guys want to go up?
Hey, I live on the south end of the bridge. I like the idea of having a divided turn lane. I feel bad when I have people lining up behind me. A year or two ago, there was an attempt to put 2 lanes northbound. So there were 50 lanes total. That was fucking awful. And it wasn't wide enough for that. So I'm sure this is way, like the width of the road itself. If you're not widening the road by cutting more towards the sidewalks, how are you going to accommodate the 3 lanes? And I have one more thing after that. Don't mind.
First of all, I have no idea why the lane lines were painted. I don't think anyone knows why they blue line. Yes, so that was never planned or designed by our departments. The second one is, so right now, northbound is 19 feet, driving parking lane, southbound is 11 feet. So with the proposal, the travel lanes will be 10.5, so they'll be slightly narrower.
well, in the downhill side, they'll be slightly narrow, and uphill side, they'll be extremely narrow, because it's very rarely parked. So there will be enough width for one-lane construction and the turn lane. The turn lane will be a little narrower than kind of our standard, but it's not like we have semi-trucks coming out turning here typically, so it should be plenty width.
What is the legal minimum width for a travel lane?
I'm gonna answer that, but we have 8-foot lanes in the city in certain areas.
So I'm just thinking, I was doing previous design, would it be a way, this is a very cheap option, of actually painting in a little bit of buffer, narrowing the travel lanes so that they're at minimum. So that way we're buying at least, 8, 10 and more inches, potentially between the sidewalk, granted it's painted, it's not permanent physics, as you say. But could that be an option to at least, for traffic calming, because if you people travel in a narrow lane, you tend to go a bit slower.
It's something we can discuss. I think right now we're proposing 10.5, so typically we don't like, honestly, on a street like this with this volume and a bus route, we typically like an 11-foot lane, so we're going slightly narrower than ideal, but we've done 10 in plenty of locations. I don't know if 6 inches would help here, and we wouldn't want to go narrower than 10 feet.
We have 5 more minutes for this section of the meeting.
5 more minutes, I know.
Can you quickly talk about the northbound ridge goes from 2 lanes to 1, and that merge is a struggle for people? Could you talk about how that's going to be addressed just north of the railroad tracks?
So the merge just north of the railroad tracks going northbound, I actually drove it this evening coming here, and it is fully signed and it is fully marked, so that will all be addressed. One of the bigger issues that we had recently is that we needed to warn about the railroad crossing so much, because it is so rough, that we were debating on trying to not overload it just with a bunch of signs that then we would pay attention to. So on 406, we will be able to grab drivers' attention better with stuff that stands out, saying the warning that the right lane ends, you need to get over.
Yeah, well, I happen to be a very frequent user. I walk to work to NIOSH through the Acom area for over 15 years. So I actually saw everything get worse and worse over time. So several points I want to make, okay? One is, there's a lot of big trucks that use that area, and even when I'm driving. You make that smaller, that's a very narrow, unfortunately, that's all we got, but that's a very heavily traveled road, and it's going to increase in traffic, and it has big trucks. If you make that any smaller, there are times it is hard. I have a small Prius trying to juggle through there. There are times that is solid traffic all the way up to Montgomery, all the way back to the interstate. So I don't even know, I strongly oppose even considering any type of bicycle lanes at all. The problem is that whole area is too small now for the heavy load of traffic, and we're just having to figure out how to optimize it. But I'm telling you, trying to make those lanes smaller is very disturbing.
Just for clarity, the line lane was being discussed for north of Montgomery Road, not the section that you're referring to. You've had your hand up a couple different times. I believe this is your last question, right?
Like 2 more.
It might be a 2-parter. When you were talking about the ties to the funding, you kept referring to it as the turn lane. Is it actually the turn lane that's required to get the funding, or is it just the safety data that backs up the improvement? And said differently, would the chicane option even be a possibility because it doesn't have the turn lane?
From Acom down here, right?
From Acom to CRC.
The safety argument is based off of, you have to show crash history, which was the 5 years that we shared, and then what is called a crash modification factor. So there are formal studies that have been approved by the feds that review an improvement, and then they document the crash reduction that should happen based off of implementation. So we provided the data, which was shared tonight, and then said with the installation of the center turn lane, we should see this much reduction.
So we'd have to get similar data on a different option to get the same funding, right? If we change it at this point.
It would be different funding.
It would be different funding.
We would probably have to give the money back and reapply.
And then differently, are there funding mechanisms for pedestrian safety that we could use to fund the project versus that one and give that one up?
For those of you who couldn't hear, the question was, is there pedestrian safety funding that we can go after to replace the funding that we're talking about replacing to eliminate the center turn lane on this portion of bridge going south to Columbia Township?
There is some, a lot of it is with the history of pedestrian accidents, which I know there's been a couple out here. There's the internal DOTE has a pedestrian safety program that is funded through the capital budget that each community council can put in requests to for traffic calming and pedestrian safety improvements. There are also outside funds. Most of them are ODOT state safety money, and those are another competitive process that the city typically only gets to submit. They're actually changing it, but historically it's been one a year for the entire city.
You'll get back there, you got it. 1 minute left. Is there, speaking to like in your studies, is there a threshold of maybe slowing down traffic too much where it's just like a constant traffic jam? Is that like considered into the final decision? Like sometimes.
The question is whether or not the studies actually talk about, or alluded to whether or not we're going to create too much traffic by narrowing the roads, where it's just a constant traffic jam.
So the 3-lane section should not cause that. If anything, it might help a little bit. The intersection at Woodford and the intersection at Montgomery will be evaluated with the safety improvements to make sure we don't cause gridlock. So that'll be part of the data collection and modeling that we do to see what improvements the community requested we can implement with the project.
All right, folks. Unfortunately, we were at the call that section of the meeting, and then Brad, I don't know if you want to hang.
Brad, I don't know if you want to entertain questions after the meeting. You're also free to go. First off, can I give you a thank you for Brad? I think it very much needs to be understood that this will be traffic calming and road design is something where no one will ever get everything that they want. However, please do know that we do have a committee, Pleasant Streets, which we'll be talking in a moment, that has done very solid due diligence to get community requests input in a beautiful packet to ODOT, to the Department of Transportation here in the city to help inform some of that. We are beholden to funds. We should not shy away from that. At the same time, we do need to exercise our own due diligence in funding and speaking up for crosswalks. So they're going to be the design that we want north of Montgomery. And just keep lines of communication open. However, I do feel it would be foolhardy if we were to walk away for something that not guaranteed. We are also seeking people to help, as Jeff said, populate the resources committee, and if that is able to assist finding pedestrian safety funding to assist projects like this, we welcome you stepping up to help identify and secure that funding. But for now, thank you for years of diligence in securing that funding. This has been a problem. I will take any of those things versus what is currently out there right now.
Yes.
And this is how we move forward. So thank you again. Appreciate it. We have committee reports. I do ask the community leads of this reporting sure, go for it. This was a good question. Schedule, the plan is to finalize design hopefully this winter. Go out to purchasing in the spring and hopefully start construction
Next year.
With potential completion in 25 is the hope right now.
When do you need comments?
Thank you. I know we asked for a couple of days for marketing, cross a couple of days, stuff like that. Ideally tonight, I know that probably isn't gonna happen, but if we could get, or it can happen. I don't know, some community councils are going to go roads and go back and,
You know, we do the most rapid public traffic safety committees that will be up till 4 a.m. So, if we do the answers like this week, that would be great. Worst case scenario would be at your next meeting. So we can both get the studies going and also kind of complete design, still trying to stay to that schedule that I just mentioned. Okay, the heat is on. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. So we're going to get this other mic that was going to please hand it off to Community Department. We're going to start with safety and block watch. Brandon's not here tonight. Just transparency, we've gotten a lot of community requests coming to our website requesting information about our cameras, not what they're doing, but getting video footage from them. That sentiment was spoken up earlier when Officer Martin was here. I think not right at the moment, but that's going to need to be another conversation about what is our camera detail in here, making sure that there are cameras in the locations that are becoming more problematic. And obviously St. Peter's Church was mentioned tonight. We do have contacts with St. Peter's Church. We can initiate conversation and get that ball rolling, but I want to make sure that Brandon, the head of our safety and block watch committee, is taking heed of that. Next up is Pleasant Streets. I did the most. Pleasant Streets has struggled, and everything that we show up tonight for your Ridge. You know, it's one thing to show up to a meeting, speak your whatever piece you may have, and then not show up again. It is another thing to be actively involved in our committees that are really well organized and meet regularly to come up with solutions. We have some great volunteers set up who live on Ridge to help ideate and visualize what those solutions are. If you want to be part of that, again, please reach out to Barb. She's our lead for Pleasant Streets, but it's a wonderful community that's doing great work. Next up is beautification. Beautification is currently open. We are seeking a lead for that. My understanding is that we're entering the tournament season, which is nice. But we've had a number of people that have spoken up about being interested in beautification. You can reach out to us if you want to take the lead in organizing that. But again, this is for the planters that are in the community, making sure things are not overgrown, trying to coordinate a small army of volunteers who are willing to go out, replant as the seasons change. We want to try to broaden that perspective to include greenhouse and litter as well. But we need someone to help kind of create a vision to do that community forward. Next is Park. Eric, are you still here? You are still here. Awesome. Okay. I don't want to talk anymore. Eric is our parks lead. Go ahead, Eric.
All right. So coming up this month, we have the very last Community Nature Advocates meetup of the year. That's October 23rd at 9 a.m. This one is at Kennedy Heights Park. The last one we did in September was at French Park, and we had a great time at French Park improving the park. So if you want to have direct action to improve your neighborhood, this is where you go. So we come out, we improve the parks, we get rid of all the invasive species, and we make directly impact the neighborhood, you know, all of those things together. And then in the one in October at Kennedy Heights, we'll be planting some stuff. All these trees I grew, we got some pawpaws and persimmons. 2 of them are made of fruits. If you come out and you learn what a pawpaw looks like, you realize they're not that mystical. They're everywhere. It's like the most common tree in Ohio. And we'll also plant some flowering dogwoods and spice bush at Kennedy Heights Park. So please come out. Every time we've done this, our attendance has doubled. So hopefully this one in October we're going to max out at our attendance. Yes.
What was that date?
It is the October 23rd. It's a Wednesday at 9 a.m. If you can't do weekday mornings, we do. I'll get to it. I can't talk about that. Okay. So we do a library. I can't talk about it because I'm not getting paid right now. We do have I am doing a program at the library for gardening with native plants on October 2nd at 2:30. That's a Saturday. So if you want to know why we're doing what we're doing, November 2nd. November 2nd, 2:30, Saturday at the library. We're gonna talk about native plants, where you can see them, how you can go in your yard, how you can incorporate them in your yard, why we need to incorporate more of them in our yards. And it's a great way to get all your questions you've had about the pocket park answered. Leading into November 3rd, we're gonna plant 200 plants at the pocket park, that are in my backyard right now. I'm taking care of them. So Goes to Landscape is donating their time and team and labor to make triple the size of our planting beds at the pocket park. So they're going to do that by the end of October. And then we're going in on November 3rd at Sunday. We're going to start at 2:30. We're just going to plant 200 plants. And we're going to sow a bunch of seeds. And it's going to be like a million times better than what we did this year. And we've only been doing this a year and it was amazing. And yes, I do have St. Peter's contact info because the pocket park is right next door, like Andrew mentioned. So if you do need their contact info, we can get it. But they're not very slow this one. Yes, agreed.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And just a quick note on that, as you guys know, with the storm, thankfully no bodily harm was done, but we did lose a significant amount of trees and limbs in our canopies, okay, as all across the entire region. As you know, that the fall relief program is sold out of their trees, but we're going to try to keep making a diligent push to impress upon our neighbors to replant trees when they come available, particularly focus on low cost from our community, like county partners, from like Hamilton County Resource, I believe is one, and along with free trees and handouts. So just we'll try to keep that going as much and helping parks and beautification keep track of our canopy as well. Ridge Day, Barb.
I'll be very fast. I just today looked and saw that Lisa Jess, she got everything updated on our spreadsheet, and Ridge Day came in just barely under $8,400 net this year. So thanks to everybody who helped, who came, who had fun hopefully, and we'll be starting up again here before long to plan for next year, first Saturday in August.
Okay, next is communication. So we have a delightful couple, Kelly and Avery, who are marketing people by day and who are taking on communication. So I guess me complaining for almost a year about doing communications, and now found someone who's got youthful energy to expand upon it. And they are already cranking out more in the last week or so than I have done in months' time. So we are going to start doing a weekly piece, which is just going to be more of just a one-off from our quarterly. The monthly is going to be mostly a meeting recap, and so our communications through working with the secretary to do an overview of these meetings, a lot of events. On my own, I actually went ahead, I revamped our communication firm so that we can better direct it to the respective committees and not just coming into a singular inbox. And the dance with trying to establish our own calendar continues. I've gotten a lot of security pushback from Google calendars. It's the most freely accessible one, but basically, if any people do have events, I was trying my best to get Community Happens Here embedded onto ours. It was an awkward digital conversation between the platforms. But anyway, from library to CRC to Community Happens Here and so forth, and with community partners, we want to try to start populating a calendar page and start charging our secretary with managing that. So if you have events coming up, let us know. Okay, to gateways. Orchard is open if you live in the Orchard Gateway, or if you don't know what the Orchard Gateway is, or if you don't know what gateways are in general. We do have a page on our website that expresses what gateways are, a very quick preview. These are meant to be on our kind of boots and eyes on the ground. This is where the 301 Cincy app really comes into play. We really want to try to hyper-localize specific projects and try to empower the quadrants of our neighborhood in a way to help articulate specific projects that we on the council can then engage the city to support you and look at different funding via NSP or community budget requests and so forth. We want to try to empower you. It's also the people that should be throwing like block parties and stuff. So like if y'all want to block off the street, donuts, we got you. We want more of that. If you want to talk about reducing traffic, just walk off the street and go crazy on it, so there's that. And we do have a couple other gateway leads here with Centerville. Hold on, okay, cool, so Chris, I think I saw Chris. Yes, Chris, you have anything?
I'm a couple weeks back into this, so next meeting.
Okay, this is the job of repopulating empty spaces and people still, it's like, a few good weeks on the job, right? We're still getting used to what we're doing. Ridge, yes. Ready?
I don't have anything.
No, okay. Our goal is to try to have stuff, and but also we always try to have at least 3 persons per committee, and we are treating each respective gateway as a committee. So if you want to help step up in your respective gateway area, be it Centerville, which is more of our northwestern, Orchard, more of our northeastern, Cypress, more of our southwestern, and then Ridge, kind of central and southeastern quadrants of the neighborhood. Please approach the leads. It is just meant for you guys to help hyper-organize and initiate some more street level events. We do have a link here for PRM, LSDMC.
All the letters. Pleasant Ridge Montessori Local School Decision Making Committee. My name is Gwen Roth. I sit on that committee. I'm the community rep. The committee is made up of a community rep from Gulf Manor, Pleasant Ridge, and Amberley Village, as well as parents and staff and teachers. There's 13 committee members, and we are tasked with approving the budget, hiring a principal if Ms. Simpson ever leaves, and we've all threatened her never to do that, so here's hoping. But we meet the second Wednesday of every month from 3 to 4:30. Our meetings are open to the public. Just a few updates from our first meeting this year. Enrollment is at 711 students, which is pretty much standard for the last couple of years. As you know, Pleasant Ridge Montessori has a brand new addition, and the school is now officially right-sized for the students that are there. That will probably change as the neighborhood continues to grow, but the cool thing is we've opened several new classrooms, and even better yet, every classroom has natural light. There are no classrooms in locker rooms anymore, so really excited for all of the new things that are happening in the new area at PRM. If anybody has any questions about anything, feel free to ask.
There's a library.
Yes, yes. Mr. Church has been doing amazing things at the library. If you have any books, any appropriate K through 6th grade books, even gently used books, please donate them to the new library that he himself has put together. It's absolutely amazing. And if he can't use the book in his library, he will give the book in the hand of a child. So please, if you have any extra books, if you're cleaning out things for Christmas time, consider donating to the library at PRM.
Excellent, thank you, Glenn. Quick note on that, obviously we have a spot here for Pleasant Ridge Montessori. They are our local neighborhood school, and we are thrilled that one of the additions online, the school is right-sized. We do have 2 other schools within our neighborhood district, along with another school, Woodford Academy, who Principal Garner has been here before and presented. We want to try to give a bit more space and voice to our schools. I mean, I'm a teacher, I've been a teacher, and I work in education. It is a collective ecosystem of teaching. So we want to make sure that they feel welcome to at least have representative voice here so that we know that we can serve them as well. Just considering Ridge, I mean, how many of us have seen kids running across Ridge from UDF to TCP? We need to make sure we speak up on behalf of those families and those students as well to ensure their safety and also their educational outcomes. So that's something that we are trying to negotiate about how to invite them here and they can feel welcome because they have nothing here. Move on, the community happens here.
Oh my God, last.
If you have never been to Community Happens Here, I welcome you, invite you, plead with you, encourage you to come and spend any time between 11 and 1 on any Saturday. It is one of the most direct ways that you can build a resilient, connected community. by talking to other people. I know it sounds scary, but it really is well designed for good interaction with other people. And on October 19th, we have a fall festival, which is of course open to all. There'll be pumpkin painting for any age and other just fun activities. We do a limited number of large activities during the year, as many as I can stand, not as many as other people would like to have, because they're really hard on me. But every Saturday, as long as it's not a holiday, from 11 to 1, we have intentionally created with no agenda, not except for the idea that if people talk to each other, things will get better. So I invite you for something. It is always free, and if you are interested, you can go to our website, communityhappenshere.org. When I say here, I mean here, between two people. That is the only way we can make community. It's not a big abstract, it's a physical thing to do with people. If you go to communityhappenshere.org, put your name in and your email, you can get emails from us, and then you can know all the different programming. You can declutter, or you can do some other thing that we might be having people, and we are also a space where you can bring your ideas and your things that you want to see happen for people of any age, students and up, to say, I want to talk about decluttering, I want to talk about these, I want to talk about all the things that we need space and time to talk about. It is a nonprofit dedicated to letting that happen, and so that's why we're here.
There's a reason why we let that energy conclude our evenings. Okay, thank you, Ruth Ann. I don't know if it really needs to be said anymore, but community happens here is an asset that not every neighborhood gets to enjoy, something that we really need to make sure we hold on to, protect, engage, and support however best we can. So Ruth Ann, thank you again for all your programming. My kids love going to your stuff. You have the meeting minutes of last month in your hands now for an hour and 44 minutes. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes from last month? There's a motion back there. Is there a second? Anyone?
I'll second it.
There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the meeting minutes from last month are approved. Thank you for that. Please do note, as we did signify.
I need that.
This is the gentleman who seconded. What is your name, sir?
Carl Beckman.
Carl Beckman, is that correct?
I didn't even spell that.
Okay, yours, Steve. There we go.
I did it right.
All right, please do know, next month's meeting, we are pushing back a week to 12th to whatever hangover we will still have from the election season, but thankfully that'll be in the rearview mirror. We can focus on our community. And with that, I think, is anything else from exec? All right, that's, I think, the longest meeting that we've had. It was fun-filled, it was exciting, it was exhausting, and all the above, all I expect in Pleasant Ridge. Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting? Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, say aye. All opposed? We are adjourned. Have a
It's worth Dept.